Weddings are such an interesting experiment whenever it comes to money. You're spending a lot of money in a short period of time, making dozens of decisions, all with emotional weight and social pressure attached to them. And after getting married in February, surprise, surprise, I realized this experience taught me a lot about how we make financial decisions, especially the ones that are easy to second guess later. So today, I asked my wife, to join me in breaking it all down. We're going to share how much we spent and where it went, what actually mattered to us, and the biggest lessons we took away, so you can feel more confident making big spending decisions in your own life. Let's get into it. Gabrielle.
Hello, honey.
I'm excited for this conversation. For our first episode to our second episode, you have probably been the longest. I think the last time we recorded was episode 13.
In 2020.
I know, which is absolutely crazy. But we're going to talk about our wedding, which was an awesome experience. We had a surprise wedding. We invited both of our families to New Orleans. They thought they were coming for a proposal and surprising you, but we Uno reverse card and told them that they were actually here for a wedding, which was such a fun experience. How are you still feeling about it?
I loved it. I wish we could replay it and do it all over again.
I know. I was just telling someone the other day that I really wanted to bottle up that very last feeling when it was just you and I walking around the Airbnb for like the last time before we checked out. Like, I really didn't want that day to go away. So let's get into it. We're going to be talking about our wedding expenses. But before we get into the numbers, be honest with me. Were you nervous planning a wedding with me, knowing that I tend to be pretty frugal and you tend to not be as frugal as I am?
Definitely. I think I was worried that you were going to want to cut corners on every little thing, and it was going to impede my ability to have a beautiful wedding. But then we came together kind of early on and agreed on a budget, which we both felt gave us a lot of room to play with the budget and see what we wanted to do with it.
Yeah. Honestly, looking back at the budget, I felt like it wasn't as restrictive as I thought it was going to be. I think both of us thought probably halfway through, there was no way we are sticking to this budget. But it made us be a little bit more creative and honestly get real serious about some of the things that actually matter to us. What were one or two of the spending decisions that we made that you're like, absolutely, it doesn't matter how much it cost. This is something that's super important to me?
I think our biggest expense was our thing that we both agreed that we wanted everyone together. So that was our lodging. So over almost half of our budget was our Airbnb that we chose because it was super important for us to have our friends and family all together, staying in the same place. No one's having to Uber or drive to see each other. We're all just right there and spending quality time together.
Yeah. So our budget was $30,000, which I have no idea how much budgets are on average nowadays, but I'm guessing
hundreds of thousands for big, quote unquote, traditional weddings.
I know. I know some of our friends, it's, if they don't get help or support from their family, is like, this can be a significant backstep in terms of finances. And it's crazy how much venues cost, the vendors cost.
The upcharges, if you say it's a quote unquote wedding, then it immediately doubles the price.
Even one of our friends was telling us she's planning a wedding right now, and just renting chairs for like 100 plus people was
for 2 hours.
For 2 hours was going to be $1,000. And I'm not talking fancy chairs. I am talking like the pop-up folding white chairs. So I can easily see how a wedding budget can spiral, but I am glad that we set a budget and we try to stick to it.
And we did this way in advance, so we spent 2025 each saving $15,000. So we went into the year not worried at all, which I think that really helped. Just because we had so many other things and moving pieces with the wedding, that was really good to be like, okay, the money's set aside. We don't have to stress about it.
Was there any point in the planning process that you felt like the budget was maybe getting in the way?
I think since we did a micro type wedding and it was smaller, we had 16 people total, including us. For me, I felt like the amount of money we had set aside was plenty for what we were trying to do.
Yeah. But I think there was probably only one or two tougher decisions that we had to make that was like, we had to come together and be like, is that amount of money really worth it or not?
Yeah.
But let's stop teasing it. Let's actually break down the numbers. So we set aside $30,000. We both each put $15,000 into a savings account for the wedding. And drumroll, please, we ended up spending $24,000 in our wedding. So surprisingly, I was almost certain that
I was shocked we stayed under budget.
I thought we were going to go over. I think you and I both committed like a month or two out, like, let's throw like another $3,000 or $4,000 each into that budget to get the things. And then we started adding up all the expenses. And after paying out some vendors, I'm like, actually, I think we're going to be under budget.
Well, and for a lot of things, like we had to pay that in advance, like to book the Airbnb, to book the hotel or the dinners. That was money that was gone already. So then when it actually came to the weekend, we didn't have that many day of costs.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have additional money that we needed at the end. It was kind of all taken care of, which was great.
Yeah, I think I only had like one moment of panic where I was like, started like looking at everything that we had already spent. And I'm like, girl, we're at like low 20s right now. Like, and we're not even
we're 6 weeks out. Like,
yeah, we're not even at the day of the wedding. But you're right. I think we pretty much prepaid for all of the big stuff. And there was only like a couple $100 of things that popped up in the last 6 weeks, and then a few other things that we had to pay for outside of that.
Yeah, my only panic was we all took the group to Cafe du Monde, the little beignet shop in New Orleans, and they're cash only, and I didn't know that. So we were like crowdsourcing like $20 from our group so everybody could get a beignet. But besides that, we were great.
Yeah, I think we spent like $100 there or something.
Then we got waters for everybody.
Yeah, that's funny. Cool. So gut reaction, how do you feel about the 24,000? Do you feel good about it? Do you felt like you wish you would have spent a little bit more? What were some of your feelings after we totaled everything up?
I feel great about it. Again, like you were saying, but just like with wedding costs in general, I never wanted to be the person that spent $100,000 on a wedding. And also as a wedding photographer in the past, I just saw so many brides crying on their wedding day because the tablecloths weren't right, or they didn't even have time to talk to everybody at their wedding, or like just so many emotions tied to doing a wedding in a way where you feel like it has to be a certain way because of this is how everybody does it, or this is tradition or whatever. And so like the fact that we kind of did our own thing and we did a smaller thing and we saved money, that was just like an ideal scenario for me. And that's exactly what I wanted with my wedding.
So of the 24,000, as you mentioned, half of it was spent on an Airbnb. So we ended up getting an Airbnb for, what was it, 4 or 5 nights total?
Wednesday to Sunday.
So yeah, 4 nights, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, 4 nights, 5 days. We stayed there, just us and the photographer. The first night, our families came in. The second day, once again, they thought they were surprising us, but we actually surprised them. So it was also nice too. I felt good about it. Not only did we spend 24,000, but outside of flights, our 16 guests didn't really spend that much either.
We covered all the food as well. So like if they got themselves to New Orleans, everything else was taken care of, which like that meant a lot, I think, for us too, to know that like our friends and family didn't have to stress about booking hotels or like all of this. They just could come and enjoy. And I really do think emotionally that helped like the whole overall vibe. No one was stressed about buying this or that. It was really just come and enjoy and spend time with us.
Yeah, because I'm definitely at a place now where weddings are important to me. I don't care how much it costs for me to get there. If it's someone that's important to me, I want to be there. But there have been periods in my life, especially in my early to mid 20s, where I got invited to a lot of weddings and I realized how much money I was spending between flights and hotels and food and the
it's
gift.
Easily over $1,000 for a little weekend.
Yeah, and a gift for people. Like I'm just like, man, so many things added up so fast, and we also didn't want to put that burden on people too. So outside of either a flight or driving, that was pretty much all that our guest really had to pay for. So that was $12,000. It was a lot, but it included all 16 of us staying there for 4 nights total, plus our venue. We actually ended up having our ceremony in the parking lot.
And our reception, because we had dinner in the giant kitchen area.
True, yeah. And the reception, the ceremony and reception. So we didn't even have to pay for another venue. And it
had a pool and a hot tub, so we had our late night hangs there as well.
Yeah, that's true. So it provided a whole lot of entertainment for us, and it was nice not to like have to go through and get another venue. Even all the rentals, like there was plenty of chairs there.
Or even drive to a bunch of different places. Like again, we were all just right there. After the ceremony, we just walked inside and we were ready for the reception. So it was perfect.
And then second was was food. We actually spent about $5,000 total on food. We probably went a little overboard on food. I know we had a ton left at the very end there, but food included a big Sam's Club run. We did pizzas. We picked up pizzas the very first night. We did a fancy night out at a place called Two Jacks in New Orleans.
Like a private room, like personal bartender. That was a bigger expense, but it was a really nice experience.
Yeah. And then a wedding cake, the vessel. Everyone met us at a bar, which is whenever we told them the surprise too. So it included a whole lot of things there. So that was $5,000. So between the lodging and the food, that was 17 of our $24,000. And then we spent about $7,000 other dollars. Another big one really just being our photographer and cameras. We got a bunch of disposable cameras.
I bought a Super 8 camera.
Yeah. So we spent majority of it on Airbnb, food, photographer, and then about $3,000 to $4,000 left on Gabby's dress, my suit, a few other pieces of clothes that we bought, some stationery, gift bags, the car rental, gas, parking, hair and makeup, walking tour, a bunch of other fun things. I thought we did pretty good all in all, and I really didn't feel like we were too restrictive in terms of what we wanted the weekend to look like.
For sure. And even like with your suit, again, I just feel like because we did the surprise wedding, we didn't feel pressured to do anything a certain way. So instead of going to a shop where maybe your suit would have been a couple $1,000s, we just bought some suits online and you tried them on at home and you picked one that you felt comfortable in. And that ended up being like a 10th of the normal cost. So I just love that we were like so creative with how we did everything. I DIY'd a lot of stuff, which honestly brought me a lot of joy because I got to like thrift a bunch of florals and plates and stationery and like DIY it, which I love to do. So I got to bring like the creative elements in too.
Let's talk about what actually mattered to us. So like looking back on the wedding, what were some things that stood out as like 100% worth it?
Well, for me as a photographer, I knew from the beginning I have to basically plan this weekend around the photography because it's so important to me. And so that cost I would pay 1,000 times over. Having one of my friends who's a professional photographer come shoot everything for us, doing all the photos with no pressure and just in a really relaxed environment. That was exactly what I wanted. The photos turned out incredible, and that meant so much to me.
Yeah, I had definitely the memories, and the cameras were really fun. Even the disposable cameras were really fun. I'm sure that cost us a little bit to get everything developed, but it was so fun. We gave a disposable camera to everybody that was there, and they throughout the weekend got to take pictures. Then we got them all developed, and then digitized them and put them into this magazine that we shared with everyone, which was so fun. But a couple of actually looking back, Two Jacks, the private dinner, was not something I was expecting that I thought was going to be 100% worth it. You probably could have convinced me to do another dinner in, or just went and picked something out, or even got like a private chef that came in and did something. But it was honestly so fun. That was our Saturday. So that was about the third day of the wedding, to get everybody out, get them in fancy clothes, go to a really fancy restaurant and feel served like they took care of us there. They served us well. The food
had a private room. They even just from when we walked in, they had a person like escort us to our room and okay, this is where you're gonna be tonight. Here's your bar that you can like get anything that you want, and it just made us feel relaxed and like, wow, we are actually enjoying our wedding weekend.
It was fun. And then on that same note, the mini moon, we did a little vacation honeymoon on our drive back from New Orleans to Austin. We stopped at this really cute place about halfway, and that was really important to me. And that was probably a place where we compromised. I was considering getting one more night at the Airbnb. I really wanted to have at least one moment, just the two of us together. And I thought it would have been really cool to spend another night at the Airbnb. But of course, there's $12,000 for the Airbnb. So another night would have added like $2,000 more. And instead, you're like, let's do something, but let me look for another place. And that place ended up being so great. I probably liked it more than the place that we stayed at. It gave us a moment to really enjoy the weekend and savor it for one extra night.
For sure. And it was halfway between NOLA and Austin. So we didn't have to drive 8 hours the day after our, wedding weekend. And like you said, we relaxed. It was a remote cabin. There was a hot tub. We went in the hot tub like 8 times. And we just really got to reminisce over the whole weekend. And it ended up being, I think that was like $300 or something.
That was crazy. That was such a good deal for like how cute that place was. And they did such a good job. They put like a heart-shaped flower petals out for us. And the owner said hello to us right when we got there and brought us to our place. It was so cute, and they did such a great job. And it was exactly what I wanted. But let's talk on the flip side. What are some of the things looking back that just didn't matter that much to you in hindsight?
I mean, one of the things that just comes to mind immediately is I was like, do you want boutonnieres? Are we going to have like a flower girl? Just a lot of those things that, again, are traditional wedding things. And you were like, I don't care about any of that stuff. I want the people here with me. It doesn't matter if we have $5,000 fresh flowers or 100 people there. For me, and I think for you too, we kind of agreed, our most important people, our closest family and friends, and really just spending quality time together was way more important than spending more money on a larger guest list or just things that you're supposed to buy for a wedding.
Yeah, I think we immediately had to confront the tug between like traditional weddings and what we thought would feel like us. I felt the decision fatigue a little bit too with like the boutonnieres and like, do we need to do this and that? And I'm like, man, I have no idea. But I'm glad that we like really simplified that. And on one hand, I would have loved to have everybody there, all of my friends and family from since I was a child to high school to college to our friends that we have here in Austin, the people that have over the last decade have really seen us. But we had to make that decision pretty intentionally right from the get-go. Do we want to really have a long weekend all together with a lot of intentional time with a very select group of people? Or do we want to expand the wedding, maybe do just one day to be able to stay within budget? And I felt that tension right away, but I'm glad we both landed on kind of the small group because it felt really good.
Yeah. And we're compromising with that where for our 1-year anniversary, we are going to have a larger reception party where we're inviting, anybody that's important to us.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're going to kind of get the best of both worlds where we had that intimate, really nice weekend. And then we're going to have like a bigger party where we can celebrate in about a year.
Yeah. That would be fun to do a little breakdown on that too, because we're going to have it at your family farm. I'm sure we'll DIY a bunch of stuff there too. What about some things that we considered spending money on, but then we just didn't actually spend the money on?
The first thing I'm thinking of is I really thought we were going to do a private chef at the Airbnb.
Yeah.
And then I was just looking into it. And for me, the cost just didn't seem worth. They had to come into the Airbnb like 5 hours before to prep all this food. So that would be going on while we're having the ceremony. The menus looked good, but again, nothing spoke to me as like, oh my gosh, my vision for my wedding is to have this 3-course personally plated dinner type of situation. And so we ended up just getting a really good restaurant. We had them deliver a bunch of food and everyone loved it. That was like one of the meals that people said was like their favorite meal on the weekend.
I ate those leftovers for like 5 days straight.
Me too. The crab cakes.
They were so good. And honestly, both of our dads and our one of our best friends, Will, stepped up. They did a lot of the cooking and the hosting. And honestly, I think they enjoyed that, or at least I hope they enjoyed that, and that wasn't a burden on them. But yeah, it almost made it feel a little more intimate that we weren't sharing the space with a private chef and maybe taking away from that intimacy a little bit, and that our dads really got to shine in a lot of the cooking and handle some of that.
And also, we just kind of thought about it, and like our families aren't like a super bougie foodie type of people. They like we both grew up in Missouri eating like very home cooked type of meals. And so like to have dishes where they were like oysters and these other things, like that wasn't important. That to me, that wasn't like valuable to the group. Yeah. So I'm glad we stuck with Italian and everyone loved it.
I know one other big one for you that we considered for quite a while was a videographer. Mm-hmm. That was probably one of those few areas that we ended up compromising on. That it probably would have been an extra $3,000 or $4,000 to hire a videographer. But then we got the Super 8 camera and had our friend Will once again do a lot of the shooting, and you did some shooting on that. So yes, videographer. I was just thinking about like, okay, when I'm looking back at all the photos and all the content from the wedding, like what do I want? And I just felt like it would be a little bit more fun and authentic if we just got the Super 8 camera and kind of had everyone pass it around. And also people took a bunch of phone videos, which that was great for me. I just wanted something to remember the moment, but I didn't feel like I needed the video as much as I needed the photos. I also considered a day of coordinator for the actual wedding day. I think I had mentioned it to you like once or twice. I think that would have been like another $1,000. And in the end, we were like,
we're 16 people.
It
Like,
was so chill.
we can easily send 2 people to set the table for the dinner while I'm getting my hair and makeup done. And it totally, everyone pitched in. We all just knocked out all the tasks out together, and it was great.
Yeah, since it was such a small and intimate group, I feel like everyone wanted to pitch in and do something that day too. So I think it worked out really well.
And there was a lot of downtime on the actual like ceremony day. I think I felt like, oh, what if we should get a coordinator, and then it will feel like there's like people don't have to do so much work. But there was so much downtime that like taking 15 minutes to move the chairs outside was like people were kind of just hanging out with nothing to do anyway. So everyone was like, cool, let's take the rugs, let's put them out, let's get the ceremony set up. And we did it in like 5 minutes.
So let's transition and kind of as we're wrapping up this conversation, talk about some of the core lessons. We had 3 core lessons that we spelled out, both that we took away from just big spending decisions in general, but also some lessons that we learned that we're also applying to financial independence. And that first one was a lot of spending is about other people. We talked about this. It was hard at first. We went through a lot of the traditional wedding expectations, even a large guest list, things like that were somewhat hard for us to ignore and deprogram. But then as soon as we got past it, it unlocked a lot for us.
100%. I think even like the Bourbon Street, for example, we were like, oh, should we have a DJ? Should we have like a music type of reception where like, what's our plan there? And then we were in New Orleans. So we were like, instead of like hiring more people to come, why don't we just go out to Bourbon Street? There's already live music there. There's already a lot of like celebratory vibes. So let's just take the group there. And that, like, I just feel like we were able to like be so creative with a lot of the different elements. And we didn't feel pressured to do things a certain way once we kind of switched our mindset.
Yeah. And I think we've been pretty good about this throughout our entire financial independence journey as well. I mean, neither one of us drive really expensive cars. We struggle in the housing department, but we always try to rent within our means. I don't think we've stepped too much into lifestyle inflation. I mean, I think that's an interesting balance as we're progressing closer and closer to financial independence. Like, how do you like allow yourself and reward yourself? But how do you not just get wrapped up in buying things just because you think you should, but, actually spending things that you were being restrictive early on in your journey because you were trying to be frugal and try to move through this. But now that we're 80, 90% of the way to our FIRE goal, where are some areas that we can be a little bit more relaxed that would bring us joy? It's such an interesting balance, but I do think it's worth taking a step back. And I think neither one of us have really fallen into the quote, quote, keeping up with the Joneses.
No, I think, in fact, it'll be the opposite. I think when you and I finally do hit FIRE and we decide, like, okay, we want to really fully step back, focus on us and everything like that, we're going to have the mindset problem where we're going to be, like, really frugal because that's how we are now. And then at some point, we're going to have to be like, hey, you can let loose on that a little bit and it's okay.
Baby, I'm sure you'll help us with that.
But that was the other thing about it being a surprise wedding is we also didn't make other people feel obligated to bring gifts, to buy a whole new outfit for the wedding. Like, I feel like it just really freed up everybody to be like, just come hang out with us. It'll be really fun.
Yeah, agreed. The second core lesson that we learned was optimization has a cost too. And I think this is interesting. And I think we're learning this to some degree. And I saw moments of it where on one hand, we DIY'd a lot of things and that was really fun for you. You got a year to plan a lot of this and to work on some of these fun craft projects. But then there are other moments where it adds some extra stress. Like we were back and forth on deciding if we were just going to have the pizzas delivered or we were going to go pick them up. And that's probably the difference of like $30, I'm guessing. I wouldn't pick them up, but it could have been one of those situations where that could have been the wrong decision. And, everyone was just getting to the Airbnb and I didn't want to go spend 45 minutes driving to pick up the pizzas. There were moments where, looking back, I was like, should we have had everyone, my parents especially did so much cleaning. Should we have just hired a cleaner that came in each day and cleaned some things up? I don't know. It's kind of back and forth on some of that. I think overall we did a pretty good job, but this is still an area that I'm continuing to question for us, not only just with the wedding, but also just life in general, that optimizing for finances isn't always the right answer.
Yeah, I think another one was the rental car. I priced out rental cars, and we live really close to the airport, so there's lots of rental cars there, and they were about $200 to $300 more. And I found a rental car that was 30+ minute drive away, but it saved like $300. So the day before we left for New Orleans and the day after we got back, we both had to drive 30+ minutes to pick up and drop off the rental car. And I think that was one where we could have just been like, let's pay the extra money and have the convenience of being 5 minutes from the rental car, because it just kind of added a stress onto our schedule. So I think we definitely did do things the most frugal way in most of the circumstances. And we can, I think, as we keep going through our FI journey, hopefully we can like let loose on that a little bit and find a middle ground. But another thing was we did get a cleaner, because we just literally planned the whole wedding ourselves. So we had a lot to do the day before we left. And we were like, let's just get someone to clean our house so that our house is clean when we come back. And that was like, we still rave about how good that was.
Yeah, we got a cleaner for our actual house because, like I said, we were busy doing a lot of the wedding planning stuff, and we just wanted it to feel clean whenever we got back. So I think we ended up paying like $75.
No, it was $45.
$45 to get our house cleaned, and she did a great job. Finally, the last core lesson is that you don't always know what will matter until after. And I continuously remind myself of this. You're so good about this. Sometimes I feel like I beat myself up for not making the right decision, but you continuously remind me that like we made the best decision we could with the information that we had. And I think that core lesson in general is something that all of us on our FI journey should take away and really step into, because sometimes you got to make the wrong decision, and that's okay. And you got to give yourself grace.
Yeah. And I hope this episode, for people listening, if you're about to have a wedding or just thinking about what you'll have in the future, like I hope no matter if you're going to the courthouse or having a 500-person destination wedding, it just helps you unlock thinking about just doing things your way. Like it's your day, it's for you and your partner, and you should just do what you want to do and not feel obligated to do things just because your family's pressuring you or that's a certain way it's supposed to be done.
I agree. I'm so glad we did it together, baby.
Me too.
That was so fun. Just wrapping up this conversation, planning and spending money on our wedding felt like this mini test drive for financial independence. We wanted to save money where we could, but also be thoughtful with our choices and make sure that we were spending money in the ways that felt right to us. Along the way, we also learned how to communicate as a couple when our priorities didn't perfectly align, how to accommodate each other's needs, and honestly, how to get a little thrifty whenever we needed to. There were some moments when we really wanted something, but it was a little outside of what we wanted to spend on, and we found a way to get it in a more affordable way. And then, of course, as we were just talking about, we gave ourselves some grace whenever we didn't always get it right. Because honestly, that's the reality with any big decision. You're not always going to make the most perfect or optimal decision whenever you have limited information. Thanks for listening. Here's to making intentional choices, enjoying moments that matter, and staying FI-minded. I'll see you in the next episode.